Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hey, and welcome back to the Oddity Shop. I'm with Zach.
Hello.
And I'm Kara.
Why did you say that as a question? Are you sure you're Kara?
Some days no.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Damn it.
If you listen to the last episode. I don't know who I would be though. Oh, okay. What would you change your name to? I know I've asked you this before.
What would I change my name to?
Yeah, if you weren't Zach.
I think we have talked about it. It would have to be Josh because I get called Josh all the fucking time for some reason.
We have, and I don't understand that. I remember now that you've told me.
I don't either, but I
don't think you look like a Josh. And Zach and Josh don't sound. I don't know what I would be.
Fair enough. I can't stop. Okay, we're gonna squash this.
No, we're not. Every time you hear Zach say "fair enough," take a shot.
Take a sip.
Oh, me?
No. Just a sip. I don't want people to have alcohol poisoning. I don't need that on my conscience. All right. So
you said, I think you have a question for me?
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever met somebody you weren't sure existed?
Can you elaborate?
Sure. I'm having trouble finding out if somebody I met exists or not.
Like, do you think it could have been a dream?
No, it could have been a mass hallucination. So I have to tell you the story from New Orleans.
Okay. But I feel like my answer though is yes. But now I'm freaking out because I don't ever remember this feeling. It's actually kind of making me really feel uncomfortable.
You're already forgetting who it was.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me your story.
We met a worm person.
What?
Okay. Me, Julia, and Nick got to New Orleans before everyone else did, and we realized that our Airbnb was really, really close to the French Quarter, like way closer than we thought. So we're like, okay, we're going to go walk around.
I'm so jealous.
And we stopped into this bar, and we got our first drink in New Orleans, and this is going to come back into it in a minute for the rest of the story.
Okay. We
ordered the drinks. The bartender is so trash. She went away. She came back and asked us what our order was. And we're like, we just told you. So she starts...
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say you already got your drinks?
No. We ordered them.
Oh, okay.
She went to finish another drink, turned around, and then asked us what our order was. Like, I forgot what your order was. Like, yep. Hi, how can I help you?
Just totally forgot she asked you.
So... me, Nick, and Julia quickly learned that drinks in New Orleans are very, very, very strong. As she finally starts pouring them, I'm talking to Nick, and Julia starts hitting my shoulder and pointing at her. There was no less than half a fifth across 3 drinks.
Okay, now do you think this is just because she's a Liddy and she don't know what's happening? Or
no, because the rest of the weekend, every drink was the exact same way. So anyways,
you didn't really drink a lot.
No, I mean... You didn't need to.
Right.
Literally, that one drink got us buzzed. So we're drinking, and then you can walk around with a drink there, right? So we're drinking, We're walking around. That bar turns out it's like one of the oldest bars actually in America that's never like been torn down. It was really cool inside.
So cool.
So we're walking, and there's an empty lot with a chain link fence in front of it. And I spot it from across the street, and I see this guy has all this artwork hung on it. And it's all weird ass worm art.
Okay.
And I'm like, I have to have one.
Yes.
So we go over, we strike up a conversation, and he's got it's like a 4x6, and it's super cute. It's this worm. It has like a little speech bubble that says, "Get your poop in a group." And I'm like, I have to have that.
What in the...
Okay. So we're talking to this guy, and he's telling us about how you shouldn't do any ghost tours in town because all these people move to town and they open up a ghost tour a week later and they just make random facts. But then he was telling us that empty lot is where Interview with a Vampire was filmed, but also you can't confirm that because the building got eaten by termites. Mind you, the whole time he has a handkerchief as a cape that he's wearing. Man has like no teeth. He tells us he's part of the Church of Dirt. So, like, we get back to the Airbnb.
Oh, my God. The Church of Dirt?
Yes. I am telling everybody about this worm man. And I'm trying to find this lot for the rest of the weekend to point him out to everyone. So, on our last...
Wait, okay, hold on. But Nick and Julia were with you.
They saw him.
Okay.
So, on the last day that we were there, me and Nick stop at this little cafe, and we look across the street. I'm like, That's the empty lot. There's no worm man to be found.
Okay, but he could have moved his little setup.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. Or he like burrowed into the dirt. I also found that day, later the day that I bought it, I found a clump of dirt in my pocket.
No.
So Nick came up with the theory, though, that the only time you can see the worm man is if you have a drink from Lafitte's. Like, you need to have these, like, because the drink was also called Blood Oath. And I think I made a blood oath with a worm man.
Oh.
Anyways, though, I have some really cool worm art now.
I don't know if I like... I'm writing this down if you can hear me, because I don't know if I like this. Okay. Does the worm art have a signature? Or
yes,
like
it does. We can't make it. We could get his last name, and we've tried to search like the first letter, the last name, and all sorts of worm things. We did find, though, there is a Church of Dirt in Utah.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but you can get married there.
Well, that's where you need to get married.
If I ever do.
Yeah, and I don't know if we want to go to Utah. Nothing wrong with Utah, but I don't know. Okay, I don't like that at all.
But anyways, I'll send you a picture, and I'll make sure we post a picture of the worm art for this, because it is like it's just this like cute, creepy worm. But I don't know. Nick is convinced that you have to have a strong drink to be able to see the worm.
Really strange, all of it. So really quick, I got something, and little shout out. The Instagram and the Etsy shop is called Do Little Dorks, and I could post this. And I bought the most, I've been so excited to show you. You won't really care as much as me, but it is the most perfect pot for a plant. It is the most me in the universe.
Let's see it.
Are you ready? And I know our connection is blurry, but...
Oh, okay. For everyone who can't see it, it is the Scream mask.
It's Ghostface.
Yes.
But it is all just a solid, like, what is this? Like a cement color? Like it's just cement. And it is, so it's just like neutrally looking, but it is Ghostface. And I need to get a little plant for it. I mean, I have a million, but I need a new plant now for this. And of course. I love this thing so freaking much. I just got it the other day, and I was going to post a picture.
You need to get like a creepy plant.
I know. That's what I've been thinking. What plant should I put in this? It has to be like weird, I feel.
I feel like so if you did like a couple air plants, maybe.
That's what I think he had in it. But he has like Jason, all the horror.
You know what you should get? What are those? The Rose of Jericho? The ones that are all like dried until you water them and then they kind of open?
Yeah, where do I get that?
We'll have to look online.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, I just had to, this is like the most perfect freaking plant pot that I've ever seen in my life. But I'll take a picture and I'll link it too, because like I said, he had Jason, Freddy Krueger, like all the horror. Oh God, I'm in love. Absolutely nice. In love.
Love it.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
What are you telling me?
Get into it this week. I actually have an address for you too. Sort of.
Oh,
sort of an address, sort of a name.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about St. Louis No.1, aka the oldest cemetery in New Orleans.
Oh, and you visited?
I did visit. So I'm going to do it. It's a little different than my normal style. Kind of want to give you like some background on why they bury the way they do there. And then I want to get into some of the graves that are actually in the oldest cemetery in New Orleans.
Buried differently?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So have you ever seen pictures of New Orleans cemeteries? How it's like everything is above ground. So like, you know, we have like the random mausoleum in ours. Well, there, basically everything looks like small mausoleums, but you can't enter inside of them.
Yes.
So in New Orleans, the dead are buried in monuments and tombs above ground because the whole city is built below the water table.
And I just think it is so beautiful. Like it looks so beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And you never watch Vampire Diaries or the originals, but a lot of it is set in New Orleans, like the French Quarter, like with the witches and the vampires. And it is just like so freaking beautiful.
And let me tell you, the whole city has like a crazy energy about it because there's all the voodoo and like so spiritual. So, it was really cool. But in the 1700s, though, after a flood, when bodies started to float back to the surface, they decided they need to figure out something else.
Makes sense.
Right? Not only that, but at that time, the city was also going through some epidemics, some yellow fever. And
What year are we?
We're in like the early mid 1700s.
Okay, yeah.
So like way, way back. So people were really freaked out though about like, disease, and not knowing what to do with your dead bodies makes disease spread even worse.
Oh.
So what they do is they bury them in the like above ground tombs, right? Which I've always thought has to be super uneconomical because they look like you could only fit 2 or 3 bodies in coffins stacked on top of each other.
I mean, I would think it would only be one. I guess in my brain, I thought it was like one body.
Just wait, because we're going to talk about how they fit up to 80 or more in a single tomb.
Oh,
So this is how they are far more economical than us. Okay, so now I'm thinking backwards, where we bury bodies under the ground and you can only put one plot or one body, maybe 2 in a plot. Like we're doing it wrong. We're wasting.
But I don't
space.
feel like you put 2 bodies in a plot. I don't ever think that's a thing.
Sometimes they're buried on top of each other.
What is it, like relatives?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like a husband and wife can be one on top of the other. Okay, so back to the cities of the dead, and they call the cities of the dead because it looks like a bunch of little houses everywhere.
It's so cool.
First of all, do you know that they sell the plots, not like we sell grave plots here, but they're sold as real estate?
That does sound vaguely familiar, but I don't know.
And you own the land for as long as you can upkeep it, right? So the difference between a grave plot and real estate is that real estate can be resold.
Wait, what's happening to my body?
I'll tell you.
Ooh, I don't know if I like this now.
How much do you think, now knowing that it's real estate style?
I have
right?
no idea. This has got to be crazy.
How much do you think it cost for just the plot?
I don't know.
40 to 60,000.
How do people afford this?
Because they own it for families own them for so long.
Okay. You're gonna tell me. I'm not even gonna ask. Go on.
So now that we kind of like done some overview, I want to tell you how they actually.
Okay, well then let me ask.
Okay.
So are you saying that I bought this little plot, right? And then as long as my money after I'm dead is still flowing to pay for this, it's mine. And then maybe my children can take it over because they can pay for it. And then their children take it over and their children take it over. But my body is...
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I
don't like this.
What happens is a family will buy a plot, they'll erect the monument, usually made, so like the inner shell of it is brick and mortar, right? Then they cover it in like almost a plaster. Some people have it just plaster, others have like stone on the outside, right? Like marble. So you see a lot of, it's like when you're walking through them, it's stone. You're going to see some with the brick showing through, or you'll see some that are plaster in different states of care. It basically looks like from the front of them, most of them have 2 openings with tombstones in front of them, but it looks like 2 pizza ovens stacked on top of each other with a hole basically big enough for a coffin. So when the monument's built, before any bodies are put in, they brick off the opening and then they put a temporary tombstone on there to make a seal, right? So that when a body is put inside, none of the germs or anything, or, this was 1700, so yellow
can't
fever
leak out.
Nothing can leak out. And that's what made people really, really comfortable with this method of burial.
What fever did you say?
Yellow fever.
Oh, yellow.
Yep. So when a family member passes, they take the tombstone off the front, they scrape away the mortar, remove the bricks, and then they put the casket with the body inside, seal it all back up. Now, it has to stay sealed for 1 year and 1 day.
Okay.
If somebody else in your family dies and there's no extra openings that weren't at least 1 year and 1 day old, you actually have to either make permanent or temporary alternative burial plans. So they can't be buried in the family plot.
What is the reasoning for that?
Because after 1 year and 1 day, the casket or the tomb is always reopened. The casket is carefully removed, and employees of the cemetery will actually open it and remove the body.
Why after 1 year and 1 day?
New Orleans gets really, really hot.
Okay.
And these are stone and brick monuments that retain a lot of heat.
Why 1 year and a day, though?
Because after 1 year, they found that all that's left in the casket are bones.
So they just like, let's, for good measure, just add a day.
Yep. So 1 year and 1 day. Body is totally decomposed. So now at this point, all it is bones.
Okay.
So the employees of the cemetery carefully take the bones, put them in a muslin bag. They tag the identity on there just in case that ever has to be looked at for forensic.
Okay.
They take a 10-foot pole and they push your bag to the back of the monument, at which point, if it's time, another body is added. If not, it's sealed back up until somebody else in your family passes.
Okay, so at exactly 1 year and 1 day, this is always already done? Like it happens already?
So 1 year and 1 day, that whether there's somebody lined up to go in there or not, they're going to go in, clear it out.
I want that job.
Right? I kind of give us like a whole new credence to the whole ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
How much money do you think I would get paid for this?
Probably
What
not
is this
enough.
position?
First of all, it's most of them are through the Catholic Church, so you have to be part of the archdiocese, and you are not religious enough to ever qualify for that.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
All right, well, that's out of that. So they don't get paid. It's probably all.
I mean, they do, but yeah.
Okay.
Probably not very much. So some of the oldest family tombs, though, can have more than 80 plus bodies inside, even though it looks like it only has opening for...
Well, at this point, aren't you just crushing bones? Like, what's the point of keeping them in bags for...
So that they put them in the bags. I mean, it's respect. 2, they do that so, like, if there's a couple years down the road they need to do forensic testing, they can actually find...
I know, but I feel like if you're just shoving bones back there, you're probably crushing them.
You're not crushing them. However, because due to the heat and the fact that bodies or bones, over time do also decompose.
Yeah.
Everything just turns to dust.
Dust. Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
When there's no family left, this is when things get really interesting. This is where the real estate comes
paying.
It doesn't matter about paying. You only have to pay to build the mausoleum, the tomb.
Okay. I
right?
thought you had to keep paying.
No.
Okay, this makes way more sense. Gotcha.
Now, there's 2 ways you can do it. There's one where the family keeps taking care of it, or there are people who paid extra for what's called perpetual care. So then the archdiocese will go in and if there's perpetual care, they actually maintain the monument.
Like the structure.
Yep.
Okay.
So families who no longer are maintaining them and didn't pay for perpetual care, remember, you're in a place that's really hot, really humid, and brick doesn't like that very much.
Right.
So over time, what starts to happen is the buildings erode and wear away, and they turn to dust, along with the bones that are turning to dust.
Lord have mercy.
And then eventually, there's nothing left. So what happens is the cemeteries will try to contact any family or next of kin, although by the time the monuments are deteriorating, I mean, so much time has passed that...
Right, it's like beyond repair.
So what they usually do is kind of take that last layer of bricks, clean it up, and resell it.
What do they do with the bones? In the bags?
By the time the bricks are turned to dust, those are long gone.
Okay, but they just okay.
Just all returns to the earth as dust.
Okay.
And this is how they do it, like, basically across the whole city, right? But the oldest cemetery is right outside of the French district, or the French Quarter. It's called St. Louis No.1. It was actually built on the outskirts of the city, but now it's like right down in the hustle and bustle of everything. And this is where they started actually doing the above ground burials. So that started, here's the year, 1788 is when they started doing that.
Wow.
It used to be the largest of the city cemeteries, but they actually downsized it as the city grew, which, as we now know, unlike, here in Michigan, where if they're going to downsize a cemetery, they'd have to move the bodies because they're kept in the cool earth.
Right.
These are just dust. They waited till the monuments disappeared, and then they just kind of pared it down.
That's so wild.
Being that this is the oldest cemetery in the city, it's actually still an active cemetery today with families caring for and burying their dead in many of the plots.
Do you know what the longest family has been there?
Since 1788. There are
they're still going? Wow.
Yep. So most of those ones, though, are less family than they are. So there's a specific tomb for musicians, or specific one for members of the church whose families can't like afford to buy a plot. In fact, it's really weird. The guy who built the giant tomb for the Catholics was the first person buried in it because he passed of yellow fever right when he completed it.
That is some type of omen.
Oh, yeah. The reason we're talking about it, though, and kind of give you the history of how all of it is I want to talk to you about a couple of the tombs that we saw in there that were just, some of them are just really, really odd. Okay. Some are really cool. And there's one that I didn't see, but it's rumored to be there.
Were you looking for it?
I wasn't, because I didn't even know at the time.
Okay.
But the first one is Homer Plessy.
Okay. Well, so what made you pick these ones out?
I think other than this one, which this one will ring a bell to you, you'll know why I'm picking out the other ones. They're quite famous.
Okay, so you weren't like drawn to them?
I mean, I was.
Okay.
They're really cool. But they're
a spirit bringing you over.
No, but I will say, so me and Missy were talking about it. There was like an energy when you're in there, and it's not like sad or dark or anything. It's just very powerful when you're in the cemetery. Like, it's just you're in the middle of the city, but you don't hear any of the city. It's just like,
which is weird.
Quiet,
it's a very busy
calm.
city.
It's odd.
Interesting.
Okay, so the first one is Homer Plessy.
Okay.
Plessy, ring any bells?
That does.
So, June 1892, Homer Plessy challenged some laws when he would refuse to get off of a whites-only train car.
Yep.
Car that actually ran near the cemetery. So he was convicted for breaking the law, and the case went to the Supreme Court and became Ferguson versus Plessy.
Yep.
Which gave rise to Separate but Equal, which was not perfect, right? But it was one of the first steps in civil rights, like the civil rights movement. I mean, he was huge for that. And it's crazy because I know of the case, but until you're standing there looking at it, it's like, it's such a moving experience to just see the grave of Homer Plessy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Not all that long ago in history, but he was actually pardoned of his felony.
Right.
Way, way, way after his death.
Yeah.
And it was cool. His was about 4 foot, maybe 3 foot tall. Real simple, just.
Is he the last one that's in it?
His is the only name that's on there, and it was Perpetual Care. Being that he is such a big person of civil rights.
It'd probably be. Okay, let me ask you this. You might have said it, but I don't remember. So is it like a list of everybody that's in there then? Or they just scratch it off once your bones are pushed back, your name's off?
So some of them had a list, right? Okay. Some of them had just the general family name. Others had just a name. But so what would happen is they remove the tombstone before they remove the bricks. Mm-hmm. So when that person got pushed to the back, when somebody new was buried in there, the newer tombstone sometimes just had the name of whoever that was.
Next. Okay, that's what I was curious.
And they did have a whole area of like, because the tombstones are usually marble.
Yeah.
Of all the old stones from buildings that have deteriorated. That part was kind of cool too.
That is cool. Okay.
All right. So the second one, super, super odd because it's not even filled yet.
So it's purchased and ready to go.
Purchased for about $200,000.
Oh.
It is 9 foot tall, giant stone pyramid.
And you said most of them are around like what, 4 feet?
So Plessy's was 4 foot. Most of them can be a little bit taller than me. They're 7 to 8 feet. But this one, this one's quite tall. There's a large Latin inscription on it. Do you have any idea who might be buried here?
I don't.
Will be buried here.
I don't, but I feel like it's going to be ridiculous.
It is the future resting place of none other than Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yep, that tracks.
So he has always had kind of a tie to the city. He wasn't born there.
Yes, he has.
But he's always done a lot of work. He's spent a lot of time and money there. He actually purchased 2 houses when he was first coming up, right? And
yep.
He lost both the houses for failing to pay the taxes. Now, what's really weird is our tour guide who was telling us this did not tell us which one of the houses were, but Misty goes, I'm pretty sure one of those was Delphine La Laurie's.
Oh.
When we looked it up, and it was. So it's a very strange, because even when you pass La Laurie's house in the city...
I really thought you were going to cover that.
I was. And here's why I'm not.
I was waiting because I wanted to do it. And then I'm like, but you're going, so you'll probably do it.
She is so much more horrible than I ever thought. So we started kind of looking into her when we were there.
I haven't really looked too much into
American Horror Story makes her look chill. When you walk by her old mansion and the house, so a lot of the famous houses and everything, right, will have the name out front or a plaque or this or that. Yep. They have nothing.
Well, yeah.
Our tour guide didn't even bring up the fact that he bought her house. The city is so not proud of her, and they don't want to have her be an idol any more than she already is.
Correct.
Which is the reason I did not do her as an episode.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. But back to Mr. Nicolas Cage. So the description...
He is such an interesting character.
Reads Omnia ab uno, which translates from Latin to English to mean everything from one. No one knows why he picks that on his
See?
tomb.
Odd character.
Oh, I'm convinced it's the Illuminati. He's probably got the Declaration of Independence in there.
Yeah. When did he build this? I'm sorry, did you say that?
I don't know, actually. I know it's been there for a while. I think it was kind of around the time like when he was buying all that stuff.
Which is so
right, because then he went bankrupt, early on in his career, and that's when he lost the houses and everything. But he still has ties to the city and goes there all the time.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up while you're moving on.
So the third one, and this is the questionable one. I did not see this one, but this goes back to the city not being very proud. But most rumors have it that Delphine La Laurie is actually buried in St. Louis No.1. Just the quickest side, so that anyone who doesn't know who she is has an idea. She was from France, and her husband owned a giant mansion right in the French Quarter. It was the South. She kept slaves, but she also tortured them beyond hideously. Like I said, they don't make any mention of the mansion being hers. The cemetery, they don't mention she's not buried, or that she's possibly buried there. Like, they're not proud of her. I don't want to go into the detail of the absolutely horrible things that she did to people, but like she was an absolute monster.
Yeah. See, I thought you were just gonna cover the house and because it's like haunted as hell.
Oh yeah. So
not necessarily her, but I thought maybe the house you'd cover. You're like, I'm not even doing it.
It's uncomfortable. But in 1903, an employee of St. Louis No.1 discovered an old cracked copper plate in the 4th alley that read Madame La Laurie, born Marie Delphine McCarthy, died in Paris, December 7th, 1842.
Died in Paris, though?
Well, she got chased back to Paris.
But why would that be in... Okay.
There's also rumor that she came back under a...
Alias?
Yes.
But I guess why would the tombstone there say died in Paris?
So the French archives also say that she died on December 7th, but 1849, not 1842.
Oh.
It's just really weird. So, I mean, it could be
bizarre.
Really strange coincidence, or it could also be her final resting place.
So she had herself transferred there?
Or, a lot of people...
Because it says she died in Paris, though. I guess that's tripping me up, the Paris part.
I think if this is hers, she probably came back, was buried, and then that was like a homage so that people knew it was her, but I don't know.
Okay.
Now, the coolest tomb that we came across is none other than the voodoo queen of New Orleans, Marie Laveau's.
Oh my God.
So anybody who is anybody in New Orleans knows of her. She is just infamous, right? So she basically started as a hairstylist and grew to have this giant following of people who would come for her, as all the lore would have it, her crazy voodoo rituals in the city squares and in the swamps, right? And she'd have snakes and speak to spirits and have this crazy intuition where she knew all these things before they would happen.
She was putting on a show.
Right? Well, and a lot of people think she was into occult magic.
I didn't mean that like she was tricking them. I just meant
she knew how to draw a crowd.
Yes.
Now, what I didn't know until I went there, though, is that most people, that is just the lore of Marie Laveau. She was actually a super devout Catholic woman.
Yeah.
So she was Haitian born, right? Which is where voodoo comes from. And voodoo is actually way more energy and empathy and healing than I expected. Where, like, you know, most times you see voodoo, they're sticking a pin in a doll. And
I was going to say, I think you attribute it to
these
voodoo dolls.
Voodoo dolls, though, are more of a item of protection in their religion, right? No different than Catholics carrying around the saints for different
or crosses and things like that.
So it's very similar. So yes, she does have the whole lore going behind her, but a lot of people think she mixed voodoo and Catholicism and
made up her own.
Yeah, she was, instead of this voodoo queen, she was actually a community healer. She would regularly help the sick and the dying. She would work to pardon people from jail, especially if she was close to them who were wrongly incarcerated.
Wow. Like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But she would give out, like, so gree is it's usually a sack full of herbs for different sorts of
that sounds so familiar. Okay.
So she would give out that a lot, which is very much in the voodoo religion, but it's no different than, going and getting holy water. I think it was just a really interesting take on it of, she's not this voodoo priestess. She just cared for her community so much.
Right. But when you start to alter the way religion was written, you are bad. No matter, I feel.
So, which is why we probably have such a terrible understanding of what the voodoo culture actually is.
Or a lot of cultures, really.
Right. So this was in the mid 1800s. It's hard to tell who she really was, right? There's so many different accounts of either she was the one talking to spirits and, channeling them through snakes in the swamp, or she was a community healer. All we know is that she was loved by the masses. I feel like it's probably somewhere a mix of both. Mm-hmm. I think she knew how to draw a show and draw crowds and everything. So one of the things that somebody posited is like, well, she seemed to have this intuition, knew everything about people before it would happen.
Well, she's a hairdresser.
She was a hairdresser. Exactly. That's exactly it, right?
Shout out to Lynn.
That's how she could have had so many insights into the lives of the people. There was also, she very well could have been born into, like, not royalty, but New Orleans upper class, right? Like, possibly her grandmother and grandfather were the mayor at one point. Their history is just not well documented.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What was your vibe at hers?
It was sad. And the reason being is you can still see some graffiti on there. Aww. Because of Marie Laveau, you can actually, it's the only cemetery in the city that you cannot freely walk around. You have to be with a tour guide. Because what people used to do is they would visit her crypt. They would draw 3 X's on her tomb, turn around 3 times, knock on it, and yell out their wish. If their wish came true, you would have to come back and leave an offering. So there were rumors that it was haunted. There was, all of this. So the pictures I'll post that I took of hers actually has her. So when she was Marie Laveau, her husband died and she got remarried later on. So she became Marie Glampion.
Glampion?
Yes. But you can still see there's a few X's still on there. But if you Google what it looked like before they closed the cemetery to
public,
desecrated. Just everywhere. So is covered. Yeah, it looked really bad, but you can tell they're taking a lot of care on it.
That part is giving me Bloody Mary vibes, but in a positive way, I guess, because you're like waiting for your wish. You're not waiting for somebody to just attack you through the mirror. Weird.
So anyways, that's the only one I got to tour. We saw a bunch of the other ones, and it's really cool because you can tell the dead is so celebrated in that town, right? Like they still do parades through the cemeteries with jazz music and stuff. And it's so such cool. A high place of respect. And like I said, you definitely feel that energy when you're there. It's not heavy, it's not scary, but there's an intense presence.
It's just so cool because it's like, why do we forget the dead?
Right.
And I feel like in a lot of cultures, it's just like, not that it's like, okay, they're dead. Like you get your grieving time, let's get over it. But it's kind of what it is. Like you get your grieving time, let's move on. It happens to all of us, get over it. And that's just not.
I think though, like part of the reason why I think they're so cool now is knowing the whole return to nature part of it, right? Like You look at here in Michigan, you're buried in a cement vault in the cold ground in a casket, and that piece of land is never used again.
And I do like how you said that it just disintegrates and you're back into the earth.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You just go right back to the earth, and the ones that are there. Where did
ashes to ashes, dust to dust come from? No, I guess Bible. That would. And that would be probably about cremation, I would think.
I think it was just decomposition.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's so cool.
But yeah, no, it was definitely cool. I wanted to check some more of them out. Really quick side note. I think the oddest thing I saw in the city was in the Museum of Death. I got to see Eileen Wuornos's dirty prison underwear.
Oh, why do they have that?
They have this Museum of Death they have Dr. Kevorkian's original machine, which is so funny because he's from here.
Yeah, my stepdad met him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because he was sheriff, so he would a lot of times be called for different scenarios, and he would be leaving the house.
When I lived in Lake Orion, I could hike back to the cabin where he did the assisted suicides.
I didn't realize that.
I think we'll have to do a Kevorkian episode soon here.
Oh, for sure. I'll let you do that.
I do love me some Jack Kevorkian.
I mean, I do too, but I want you to do it so I can hear it. I'm selfish here. Enough. No, that's.
So yeah, I know it's different than my usual. It's kind of all over the place, but gives you some of the history on like how they care for their dead and some of the cool graves that are there. So we'll post pictures too of every one of them that we talked about, except for obviously La Laurie's.
Yeah. Alien Werewolves' underwear. That's something.
They also had original Gacy's, like the clown paintings.
Yeah, his paintings.
And Manson's like Crayola artwork.
How big was the museum? Was it pretty big?
It wasn't huge.
Just had
but they packed a lot into it. I mean, every inch of their walls was covered.
Oh my god, that's
cool. It was really cool though.
Did you take pictures?
You couldn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no pictures or recording in there, which makes sense.
Does it?
The Museum of Death, so many things were around.
Yeah.
Little sensitive. Some of them were really graphic pictures too. Like I had a hard time looking at some stuff.
Hopefully you saged yourself once you left.
Oh yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay. I'm thinking that we need to go be buried here now.
We could go buy ourselves a 9-foot pyramid.
I think we should.
But yeah, no, definitely worth checking out. Really cool city. Really, really interesting with the history and everything there too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to rewatch the originals now because that's where it's all centered and it makes me happy.
Did you ever watch the movie Easy Rider? It's like really old movie, but that was actually filmed in St. Louis No.1 and they didn't get permission from the city. So the city found out after it aired.
I've never even heard of that movie.
It's like
what's it like? What is it about?
It's from 1969. About like bikers.
What is it called?
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider.
Yeah.
Who's in it?
Jack Nicholson, Peter Fonda.
Oh my god.
Tony Basil. Like big names from way back then.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot to discuss on this one. It's just
it's not that. It was
historical.
Historical and kind of jam-packed with it. So I'm just like
digesting.
Taking it in. Yeah. I'm like, wow. Fair. Enough.
Well, that's it. That's all I got for you this week. Give you some time to think on it.
Yikes. All right. Well, as always, like, share, subscribe.
Thank you for listening.
Give us the love. Yeah. Thanks for listening if you're still here. And, most of all, creep it real, oddballs.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oddity Shop.